What? What is it?
Bro, wake up. They just announced a new Prince of Persia.
It's been years. Just let it die already.
I'm not joking. They just announced it.
What the Prince of Persia started with the Sands of Time in 2003. At least in my head, for the past 20 years it did. I come to find out Prince of Persia actually started as a platformer for the fucking Apple II computer in 1989.
I thought Macs were for artists.
Turns out the game that I thought was my generation's game was freaking playing me the whole time. But other than 89's game being well respected for its animations, the game was a complete commercial failure. So for the sake of this review, we're gonna pretend like Prince of Persia started with the Sands of Time in 2003. Okay? Okay. The first game, Prince of Persia Sands of Time, was a masterpiece. It was the OG wall-running parkour game. Assassin's Creed's parkour teaching daddy, pretty much.
Parkour! Parkour! Parkour!
It gave the players the power to rewind time, which was a pretty big deal back then. Trust me. And it was such a big deal back then, it spawned 4 more iterations of the game.
And a movie featuring Jake Gyllenhaal, the broke-back cowboy himself. Yeehaw!
Each installment, unfortunately, proceeding to get worse and worse and devalue the name of Prince of Persia. Ubisoft really wrung every last buck it could out of the game, all the way until 2010, which leads us to today. Guys, Ubisoft really needs some money right now. It's not looking hot. I genuinely can't think of an Ubisoft game I've been excited for in the past 10 years. Maybe For Honor, I guess? Nonetheless, here we are talking about the good old Prince of Persia again. If we follow the trajectory of the past games and Ubisoft as a whole today, we're in for quite a treat. Right? Enter Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. Much like in Sands of Time, I found myself wanting to rewind the clock all the way back to 2003 when I heard this game was announced.
For various reasons, like I just had to pay rent, I got called into work the other day, my girlfriend's going on a trip to Dubai for a business meeting. I mean, a whole lot of shit's going on.
But let's get into it. This is going to take some getting used to. At least the prince is still Persian, right? Wait. What the fuck? Well, that's because you don't play as the Prince of Persia in this game. You play as the immortal Sargon. The game starts with Persia being invaded by a massive army. You and your fellow immortals make chopped liver of said army and proceed to the throne room of Persia. You find out soon that the Prince of Persia,
not so cool this time, by the way,
has been abducted by the homie while you were busting your ass for the cause. Not cool. Anyways, you are sent to this magic mountain where kings are declared. You're tasked with retrieving the prince and bringing him back to his throne, hence the game's title, The Lost Crown. Anywho, you find out that time is different here and people are being affected in different ways. After beating up some baddies, you unlock the Hub, a makeshift campsite with an old nomadic woman and her daughter. Of course, she is selling you neat wares and upgrades from her tent.
Great lady, really.
And you do catch up to the prince pretty early on. And let's just say the plot thickens. Then some magic time-bending shit happens.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
And without spoiling it too much, let's just say your squad of immortals becomes divided. At this point in the game, you're flying all over the map for the sake of making the game worth the $50 price tag. Because the story at this point is not invigorating in the slightest. I found myself skip, hop, and dashing to the next objective as quickly as possible, often being gated from doing them in the order that I wanted for no apparent reason. Whatever. After slogging through maybe 8 hours of content, the story becomes juicy again. I feel like the game could have cut those 8 hours into maybe 1 or 2 hours, and I would have less of a gripe.
I'd like to use the Sands of Time to recover those 8 hours if I'm being honest with you.
But continuing on, the last 2 mainline quests are actually pretty enjoyable, and the boss fight, epic. The story wraps up with a satisfying ending. So satisfying, I almost teared up when it flashed back, showing all that I had achieved for the past 30 hours. puzzles. While I do believe the story was solid, it definitely wasn't great. There were epic cutscenes that gave life to the game with every boss fight, that the text on screen and generic conversations that littered the game could definitely not match. I think the real draw with the Lost Crown is the gameplay itself. While at first the game feels like a smash X button to kill enemy, that sentiment eventually becomes null. There is a nuance to each enemy's moveset, and until you realize how to counter it, you will be mashing that X button into death screens, which brings up the fact that the game is actually pretty difficult. It puts an emphasis on countering and dodging enemy attacks, as they will chunk your health easily.
Okay, so you can't spam the block button.
Eventually, you unlock medallions, a system that allots you a certain amount of points to customize your playstyle. I chose to use the medallion that reduced your physical damage.
Choose that one. I'm telling you, just choose that one.
Once you unlock most of your abilities, the combat feels like a mix of the parrying in Sekiro and the combos of Devil May Cry. Two of my favorite games, by the way. The combat felt good and rewarding and also ensured a good amount of frustration, especially when dying to basic enemies when you were far from a checkpoint.
No way. I died and I got fucking reset all the way the fuck back here. That's insane.
Which striked a good balance. Puzzles are a key aspect of any Metroidvania, and they were surely present here. But some would require you to go onto the website youtube.com and search Puzzle in the Forest, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. And those puzzles weren't the best. But I am a big fan of puzzles, especially ones that test your skill. So no complaints in that front. A small part of the story I didn't mention is collecting the floaty aether feathers.
Yeah, that's the actual name. Floating aether feather. Crazy, right?
Usually acquired from killing bosses or quest-ending puzzles. These things are what give you your movement powers. As stated previously, the game starts slow, but by the time you receive all your Super Saiyan powers, the game feels fast and movement is free. You can do just about everything except for reverse in time,
Which is a real bummer, man.
While eventually it did feel good, I think the game would have benefited from honestly just making everything happen sooner. For instance, I wish I could double jump within the first 6 hours of gameplay, but that's not how you stretch out a game asking for $50. All in all, the gameplay is a drastic improvement from the games I longed for. While being in a 2D plane instead of a 3D world, you are still able to navigate in fun and rewarding ways. With the improvement of the fun combo system, it works really well together. And talking about this new 2D art style moving forward, the stylized graphics are reminiscent of the studio's prior Rayman Legends, a mix of cartoony with flashy animations. While I don't think the graphics are anything to write home about, I do think the animations are well done. There is great diversity in enemies and areas to explore, but in the end, the game never seems too different, even with the various settings and enemies. The sound is your run-of-the-mill. The music is unnoticeable and the sword clashes sound good, I guess. Characters are voiced and the cast was diverse as well. The game's art and style really just shines in cutscenes that usually happen before and after boss fights. I really looked forward to boss fights for that reason alone. Those cutscenes that often had you exploding in some type of aether-addicted rage felt like the reward of every grind between bosses. Coming to a conclusion on this game was hard,
And acting as the aficionado of Prince of Persia of old,
I felt like this game was so far apart from its past iterations, and the fact that I was a monster guzzling 10-year-old at the time, comparisons really wouldn't do it any justice. The story was nothing unique, but the final moments made it feel worthwhile. The gameplay was a high point and felt fun, but stretching it for 20 plus hours felt like a disservice. It really made the fun run dry at some point. Difficulty was on point and made you really feel like you powered up as you progressed, as you should. The art and sound was diverse, but nothing special. In conclusion, I did enjoy my time with Prince of Persia. Is it a great Metroidvania? Yes. I don't think it's a great Prince of Persia game though. Do I wish to use the sands of time to go back back to the old 3D ways? Yeah, I do, but I don't think Ubisoft in its current state would have done that any justice. I think this new direction is the start of something great, but at this point in time,
We are in the present, right?
I would only recommend this game to Metroidvania fans with a passion for good combat, and not the die-hard 2000s Prince of Persia fans. Giving the game a solid, but improvable, 3.5 stars out of 5. Would I play a sequel? Sure. Would I work on the pacing and storytelling? Absolutely. I hope this review helped you decide if this game is for you or not. I was very excited when I saw that they were bringing Prince of Persia back, and I'm still glad I got to experience this game. It's truly one of the highest quality Metroidvanias out there. Unfortunately, I don't have the sands of time, and I'll never be able to go back to experience Prince of Persia for the first time again. And I think I've done all I can with this game. It was sure fun while it lasted. You can take a break now, my love.
All right, let's get out of here. I was just kidding, baby. Do you forgive me? Okay, I deserve that.